Okay, so from yesterday's class, I just want to do a quick overview of what we did. So that was our day one, and some of the milestones that we were supposed to cover was probably installing the tools and writing our first Hello World code, which we did. But I just want to do a quick recap. If you can remember correctly, I said that just like the way you communicate in a normal, in your normal world, you need languages that you understand for you to be able to communicate with each other. So that is the same way also, if you need to communicate to a computer, you need to also communicate to a computer in a language that the computer understands. But the computer only understands instructions. And how are you going to give computer instructions so that you get the desired output that you want? Or how can you build applications that are able to give computer instructions so that at the end of the day, you have the desired output, or you're able to realize a particular task that you're aiming to do with that particular application that you're building. So that's why in this bootcamp, we are going to concentrate on giving you the basics in a way that is easier for you to understand, even if you are coming to the tech space for the first time. So talking to I remember saying that talking to computers is like having a special superpower. And, if you're going to treat your computer as a robot, then think of yourself as somebody who has a superpower to actually communicate with a robot. It's like building your own robot right here during the 14 days. And when you're done, you'll be able to write some program that is able to give the computer instructions and give you desired output at the end of the day. Okay, so what is coding? Coding is this is something that we've had more than once. So coding is that process of coming up with instructions or writing instructions that you can give to a computer or feed to a computer, and then you get your feedback. Now think of it as maybe talking to your younger brother or communicating to your friend next to you. You could probably tell them that or ask them a question, and then you'd expect a response. So the accuracy of the response that you get from your friend or from your younger brother depends on also how you frame your question. So if you don't frame your question right, you might not get the correct or the desired answers. The same way computers apply the same logic. If I give it garbage, I also expect garbage. So if you're going to be a good programmer, or if you're going to be a good software engineer, you really need to learn how to communicate well with a computer. And you really need to understand what steps it takes for the computer to actually process whatever instruction you're giving it so that you get that response. So once you get that basic knowledge, then I believe you can conquer any language because computer languages are so many. Python is one of them, but we have a number. You can give me maybe any programming language that you know, just type them in the messages section really quick. But Python is one of them. I can give you one bonus, which is C. So let's keep them coming in the messages section. If you've ever heard of any computer programming language, let's keep them coming. But I want to just concentrate on installing these tools. So install Python, and then once you install Python, you install Git, then lastly install VS Code. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to install Git Desktop. And then we set up the GitHub environment. I don't see you guys typing. Oh, I've seen JavaScript, C#, Java. Okay, so you guys have an idea of what is expected. Now, I want you to follow me really quick and be keen on this. And when you're installing Python, just do exactly what I'm going to do here. So let's go to just in your browser. I hope you joined using your laptop, because that is one of the requirements that or the suggestions that we did in the ending the session yesterday. So just go and type download Python, and then it will take you to the downloads page. And then for me, let me just, I have Python 3.13 installed. So let me just go with the latest version. I think they've applied some bug fixes. I was just looking at that. So this one is pre-release. Don't even try to install this. Most things probably don't work here. So this one, they've done some bug fix, and it was released 2025. That is October. So let's hope it is stable enough. But the most stable version of Python right now is 3.12. So I'm just going to give a demo with this, because installing any version of Python, you're going to go through these steps. So let me do it the manual way. So if you go to your folder, where in the downloads folder, so this is the setup that I've downloaded. So I can right click on it and then run as administrator, because you need to run it as with the administrator rights. And then if you get this prompt, just click on yes to allow administrator rights. Now you're going to get that setup there. You have two options: install now and customize installation. So go with customize installation. But before you click on that, check this checkbox, add Python to path. Now, what this does is there's something we call environmental variables, or system environmental variables. So if you look at this, almost all the applications that you've installed in your Windows application, the only way your Windows application is going to know where to find them is when it is added to the Windows environment section. So that is how Windows know all the applications that have been installed. So automatically, or all setups are built to add maybe a pointer in the environmental section, or in the environment variables for Windows. So for Python, it's going to ask you if you want to do that or not. So in this case, if you didn't check that option, then you realize that you'll be having problems even with VS Code detecting Python. Another common issue that you'll detect is you installed Python the right way, but you installed Python after you had installed VS Code. So if you install VS Code ahead of Python, VS Code will not load Python, because it will look for Python. By the time you're installing it, it will not find Python. So it will not preload it in the VS Code terminal. So if you want VS Code to find Python, then you need to start by installing Python, then followed by installing VS Code. So once we install Python, it's going to add it to environmental variable. So if I click on this path and try to edit, you'll see that there are a lot of variables that have been added here. We have .NET tools, quite a number. And if I installed Python before, or a different version, you should probably find it here. You can see there's PHP, there's Java, and there's Python 3.12. So this is pointing to the folder where Python has been installed. So that is how Windows will know where to find the Python runtime. So probably if you're having a problem, that was the issue that you're experiencing. So I hope that is sorted. What was that, Peter? So if you're installing Python, check that option. And then go with customize installation. So you see all these options selected. Click on that, and then you can go to the next section. All these libraries, and you can install it for all users. I'd advise don't use PyCharm for now, because you're learning from scratch. PyCharm is an IDE. It is a controlled coding environment where you get a lot of help. But you're learning code for the first time, you need to learn everything the hard way, so that when you get automatic suggestions and code out completion, things like that, you might not fully learn the nitty-gritties of the foundation of the language you're trying to learn. So if you're learning a language, pick a code editor that does not actually learn it without an IDE first. So if you're using an IDE, already you're using an IDE to just speed up the coding process, but you already know what you're doing. So if you're talking about PyCharm, please drop it for now. For this bootcamp, we won't need PyCharm. We will need VS Code, and that is what was recommended. Usigeuze, what do you call it, prescription ya daktari from 3 times 1 to 1 times 3. Kama huku kwenye unaishi hakuna njia ya ambulance, utaona siku mrefu. Just take it as 3 times 1, not the other way around. And my 3 times 1 is VS Code, not Python. So you can check these options, and you can install it for all users. Now, in the path, normally, if you have a space in your path, you see there's a space program files in your path. Normally, that is not recommended in Windows because Windows has maybe experienced difficulties reading a folder path with, or even if you're specifying that in a command, it will be really difficult for you because you have to put it within quotes. So it's really advisable that in the C directory, if you're installing Python 3.1, so you can see I have quite a number: Python 2.7, 3.2, 3.13, but I went to the C directory and I created a new folder. So if I'm installing 3.14, I'll just say create a folder here called Python 3.14. If you didn't do this, that's still okay to install to the default location, maybe app data or something like that. But this is recommended. And then you can select that folder. So now I don't have any space in my path, or the path where I'm installing Python. So I can really install quite a number of versions of Python. And there is currently a Python manager where you can switch between different versions of Python. So after this point, you can click on install. So I'm not going to install, just do it on your side. Any question? Any question on installing Python?
No. Should we install 3.12 or 3.14?
For you, you can install 3.12. Because you can see I have, for me, I have Python 2.7, which is currently outdated. I have Python 3.12. I have Python 3.13. So you can install 3.12, which is the stable version for now. But there's also no harm in installing 3.14. So whichever. Just don't install 3.15. That is not stable.
Okay.
Any other question? All right, let's move to the next thing, which is installing Git. So now once you install Python, you can go ahead and install Git. So if you look at, if you go to downloads for Git, you can see there's a distribution for macOS, for those who are using MacBook, and there's also for Linux. For mine is Windows. I'm just going to look at the specification of your computer. So go to About PC. Just click on the Windows key and then type About. Now, my computer, the processor is 12th Gen, Intel R, Core i7. And the only thing I'm looking for here is this, which is relevant. My computer uses 64-bit operating system. Remember, there are computers that use 32-bit operating system. So if yours is 32-bit operating system, then you're probably going to go for So you're probably going to go for 32. I don't know whether they support 32-bit. I don't think so. So this is made for 64-bit operating systems. So I hope your computers are at least 64-bit operating system as supported. So you're going to just download this, and this one to install it is a bit direct, so I don't need to go into the nitty-gritties of that. And then you have Git Desktop. So just type Git Desktop. Go to the download page. This is direct. Just click on it, download it, and then install it. There should not be a problem there. So if you have all the tools installed, of course, now then we have VS Code. Just type VS Code. Then go to the download section and then choose whichever, if you're using macOS or if you're using .deb is for Ubuntu or Unix-based operating systems. And then we have this hacking operating systems like Red Hat, Fedora, Kali Linux, they fall in that. You can use the .rpm. So whichever operating system you're using. So I hope you're good on this. So let me just give me a thumbs up if you have all the tools installed and you don't have a problem. I want to move to the next thing. Joshua, I think, Shadow, Peter, and I mean Peter Mutuku. Achana na hii ingine, huyu jamaa wa kujenga. Okay. Jina zingine hapa, sasa mtu anaitwa Radix kwa nini? Sawa tu. Now let me move to the next thing. So once you have this installed, and I'm going to assume right now, Peter mtu wa kujenga, I'm going to assume that you're now okay and you're installing everything in the background. And
Yes,
you can also follow us.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so now I have all these tools installed. But wait, I just saw a few confirmations of those who have installed, but I'll find out at the end of the lesson. You should have that running in the background so that when I'm done, you're done. Okay, now let's move to the next thing. We talk about GitHub, and today I just have a diagram here to just summarize what GitHub is. So if you're going to become a good software engineer, probably you need to have a digital backpack. And as a software engineer, your digital backpack, just like any other engineer, you always have your toolbox, right? Anywhere you go, you have to be armed with your tools or your working tools, and the most common or the most critical working tool as a software engineer or aspiring software engineer is to have a digital backpack. Think of it as the normal backpack that you normally carry to work or to school or whichever. But now this one is digital in such a way that it sits online in the cloud. And how do we bring this into making sure that our operations are smooth here as a software engineer? GitHub, which is going to be our digital backpack, ensures that you don't lose your code, even if your computer is stolen or your hard drive is spoiled or your operating system has crashed. So what we're going to do is we are going to link our local folder to an online folder that sits on the cloud. Now, if you have a folder that sits on the cloud in a GitHub environment, then we are going to call that folder a repository. So repository is like the small pockets that you have in your digital backpack that can store different items. So only that in our case here, those pockets, we are calling them repositories, which are going to sit within your GitHub account. So that GitHub account is online in the cloud. And then you can link it to your local folder where you're working on a project. And then when you push that change upstream or to your folder that sits in the cloud, it's going to be stored in a specific repository. And you even if you lose your computer, you'll always have access to that particular code base, because you can log in any computer and log into your GitHub repository and clone that repository to any computer that you want. Another good thing that this is going to give us is we can collaborate on projects, and we can easily deploy projects that require cloud deployment pipelines. And that will bring us to things like later on we'll be looking at, for those who will be interested to take the advanced courses at Convertex, will take us into deploying what we call DevOps pipelines, where now you connect the code that sits in your GitHub account to now a cloud server and give users access to actually use browsers to access your services in the cloud. Just like normally you go, if you want to register for government service, you normally go to eCitizen that sits on the cloud. Or if I say cloud, maybe it's a bit complicated. Online, it sits online. So you go, you access it via URL or a domain, and then you're able to access the services that sits on the backend server. And at the end of the day, you are happy because you don't have to go to a physical office to maybe, form a queue to get these services. So that's why we also need GitHub Desktop, so that it's going to make our work easier. It's an interface to that connects your local repositories to your online repository. So think of it as a bridge to the online repository, or your bridge to the cloud. So if you've never been to the cloud, so if you've never used an aeroplane as a means of transport, then we are giving you an opportunity to actually use that bridge to somehow experience the cloud experience from using GitHub desktop. So at least you'll be having something in the cloud. So as much as wewe ujaenda huko physically, you're already interacting with things on the cloud. So let me summarize this with this diagram. How does Git work? So from yesterday's class, we understood that if you're having a local repository, then you have to give it the same name as your online repository so that these two folders are in sync. So your local folder is like the offline version of your online folder. And whatever content is in your local folder, if you sync it to the online folder, they will always be in sync and matching. So let's look at that. You have your workspace, and then you have the staging section, and then you have local repository, and then you have remote repository. So let's see how these things sync. So the different GitHub operations that we looked at yesterday, that is what we are just trying to do a recap on here. So you have your local repository, or you can do it the other way around, like we did yesterday. Yesterday, we created an online repository, Kwanza. It was called hello.py. And then we cloned it to a local folder. So that in that particular point, we are calling it local repository. Now, once we have your local repository, we made some changes. We created a contributing.md, and we also created, what else did we create? We also updated some content of, we also created hello.py and updated some content of the files. So that is, at that particular point, all those changes you've made are in the local version of your GitHub repository or online repository. So what do you do to ensure that you push your code online? So that takes us to the workspace. So I have my source directory where my code is sitting, and this is the remote repository. So what happens if I want to have my repository, my online repository in my local folder? I do an operation called cloning. So I'll git clone. So once I clone, I have a local version of that folder. So if I make any changes, then I'm going to use the command git add and add all the files that I've changed. So it's going to be git add, and then that goes to the staging, staging section, where now you have to describe how you want, or describe what you've done before you push it to GitHub. Now, at this particular point, when you commit, you are still in your local repository. You're just you've just prepared your changes. But how do you move to Git? You now push your changes to Git after committing. So it is normally git add followed by git commit and then push. If my changes are online, and it's not only GitHub that can be used to handle or store your code online. We have other stacks like GitLab and Bitbucket, but GitHub stands out compared to this. So GitHub is the one that is most commonly used worldwide. So if you see Bitbucket here or GitLab here and you're a bit confused about what you're seeing here, just know they work the same way as GitHub, but we're choosing GitHub. It's just like we have Windows, we have Linux, and we have macOS, but you're choosing Windows. So you have your reasons why. Now, if I want to sync, if the GitHub repository, the online GitHub repository wants to find out if the local repository or the local folder has any changes, you're going to do something called git fetch. And this fetch is going to try to compare whatever you have in your local repository and your online repository if they are the same. If they are not, it's going to advise you to pull changes. And that is when you're going to go to the next command, which is called git pull. So we have our remote repository, and you want to pull changes that are in the online repository that you don't have in your local folder. So you're going to use git pull. That is why most of the time git fetch is normally used together with git pull and git merge. Because if you fetch and you get that there are differences, you're probably going to merge and pull. And when you're merging changes, that means you are actually just aligning the content of the two repositories, the online and the local, so that they match. And when you do that, you have an updated workspace. within your local repository. Any question here? Okay, I'm going to assume you're good. So let's see how to create a GitHub account, right? But really, if you're hearing about GitHub today, can I see by show of hands? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're hearing about GitHub today. Mnajifanya gweji. And I know somebody who doesn't know about GitHub. Amejua leo. Sasa mnajifanya mnajusi waoni. Okay. So all of you have heard about GitHub before. Seriously. Hey, all right. So let's see if we can create a GitHub repository today. I mean, a GitHub account. So if you've not created a GitHub account or you don't have a GitHub account, then please just follow this closely so that we create a GitHub account together. So go to, in your browser, open another tab and just type GitHub, just like that. And then it will bring you to this this page. And then if you don't have a GitHub account, just go for the sign up for GitHub. So I think I'd already created one using this email. Let me look for an email that has not GitHub. Let me click on sign up. So when you click on sign up, you can use your existing email, just like you can see my email is listed here. Just click on that. I don't know my password. I don't know the password for this account. So I don't know, but it is this simple. You just use that email and then follow the prompt. And then you're going to give yourself a username. But please, if you're creating a GitHub account, at least jipe username yenye inakaa somehow techy, si ndio? Si ati umejipea jina hapo maybe Peter Mutuku. Sasa that one does not sound like somebody who is techy. So jipe jina yenye hata mimi nikikuuliza what's your username on GitHub, I feel like you're a developer. Some name that is, you know. But anyway, there's no problem with using Peter Mutuku. Ama Omolo Juang. Use whichever name you want, so long as that username should be one word. That is where now most people make mistakes. If I did a username like CodeVertex and I find that username is taken, usiweke space ati sasa unataka kuweka hivyo. With GitHub it won't work, or when you are specifying a username should be a single word. So you'd rather do that, but it is one word. I think that is the only challenge that you might face with GitHub. Okay, so that said, I think if you don't have a GitHub account, you're creating that in the background, and it should take you at most 1 minute. If you have a problem and you're setting it up right now, then you can always ask for help before the session ends. All right, so now let's move into creating your first repository. So probably once you create that GitHub account, you see an option to create a repository. And like I said, so somewhere here, if you're creating it for the first time, somewhere here you'll see create something like create repository. So that repository is like a digital folder that is going to sit on the cloud. And this is now our cloud. Our cloud is github.com. So I want to just create, let's say, sorry, I'm not going to create another account. I just want to create it here today so that I have access. So let me just go to my GitHub account. So if you go to your GitHub account, on your under your profile, there's a drop down. So if you just click on that Kai image that appears there, there will be a drop down, and you can see, you can move to your repositories. I think I have quite a number, around 125 repositories. But I want to go to the CodeVertex repository, which has around 23 repositories. So I think what I want to do, I just want to rename this. Should I? No, it has some code. So let's just create a new repository. So I'll go to repositories and then new repository. And I hope you're following. So we're going to call it, what did you call it? Hello Python. Yeah, and you can see Hello Python is available. And you can give a description that this is Python Hello World program. Now we have visibility, so we can make this public so that, I mean, the content is not that sensitive. So you can make it public so that anybody who visits your repository can be able to see what you've been doing, especially if you're learning. And then if you want to create it from a template of an existing repository, then you can do that, but that is now advanced level. We will look into that when you do an advanced course in CodeVertex. We'll probably go deeper into Git and GitHub. So a standard GitHub repository, like we said yesterday, must have a readme.md just to give you an overview of what the project is about. And then it must have a gitignore, which is probably going to define those items that are sensitive enough to remain within your local repository and should not go online, especially if that repository is public. So if you have maybe secrets that you don't want to push online, or passwords that you don't want to push online that your project is using, you're going to put them in the gitignore so that they are not pushed to the online repository. Now the standard license for public access or public use, or if somebody wants to use your code or collaborate with you, or just use your code for personal things, then you can give your code an MIT license. That is a free public license. But there are different licenses here that you can see, so that if you have a license that restricts public use of your content or your code, then probably somebody has to ask for your accent or pay you to use this particular code of yours. Another file that you need to have is contributing.md. You need to have security.md. You need to have maybe some code of conduct file. So those files that I'm mentioning are in advanced topics of GitHub and best code practices, and how and advanced topics when it comes to best collaboration rules and things to do with that. And like I said, those are offered in our advanced courses at CodeVertex. So for now, for the bootcamp, we're just going to do these common files. So I'm going to create that repository. Now that's one way of doing it. Remember, I explained there are two ways of doing it. You can create a local folder, and then you do what? You can push it online. So I think today, because I've shown you how to do this, I would like to just do it the other way around, where I'm going to push my existing code to online. So for now, if you do it this way, where you create a repository, then you clone, then you'd come and how was that? Under the code, click on this, and then use the HTTPS option. Then copy this link. This is the link to your online repository, and then come to your local folder. And then you can you can open a terminal. So to open a terminal in a particular folder repository like this one, if I wanted to open a terminal here, just click on the link up here, and then you'll have something like that. Then I want to open a terminal, so I do CMD and press enter. So when I do that, it opens a terminal in that particular folder. You can see we are in DE projects, blah, blah, blah. So I can, because I have Git installed, and this is why you had to install Git first. So I can use Git and clone. Who knows the meaning of cloning? Atuambie mbio mbio. Hamjaongea leo. What is cloning? Normal English. To complicate vitu hapa. Brian, you're speaking.
Copying.
Inaitwaje? Copycat. Ama
Replica.
Hey. Izungu kubwa. So cloning basically means creating an exact copy of something. So if I have my online repository and I want to create an exact copy of that in my local folder, then what I'm going to do is clone. And that is why I was saying Git is a bridge to becoming a cloud master or exploring the cloud, especially in terms of the GitHub environment. So the GitHub cloud, if you have a Git CLI installed, then probably you have a passport to start deploying your repositories in the GitHub cloud environment. So I'm going to use the command clone. So git clone, and then I'm going to paste the URL there. So this is going to clone my online repository into a folder. So you can see it's cloning into a folder called hello Python. Now, if I list the content of this folder, I can do that using dir. That's a command in Windows to just list the contents of the folder. And I can see there is Python, which is a directory. Hello Python. So we can move into that folder using the command change directory. Short form is cd hello Python. So most of the time you'll hear me saying cd into your folder and you're like, mimi ile cd najua ni ile ya Lingala. Sasa hiyo unaniambia ama hii I didn't think of that. Ni cd gani tena unajua? Wacha tujue kama akili ni ya Kenya. Ni cd gani tena mnajua? Mimi najua ile ya Lingala. Akili ni ya Kenya. Sawa, tuendelee. So if I go ahead and list the content of this Hello Python folder, you can see that I have license, I have readme.md. Now let's compare notes with what we created online. Don't we have the same files? We have license, we have readme.md, and we provided some description there. Now let's try to open this in VS Code and see if the content matches what we have online. So I'm going to use, if you installed VS Code correctly, you can open it from the terminal, from your terminal by just writing the command code space dot. And normally, if you see a dot in front of any command, it normally refers to the folder that you're currently in. And which folder are we currently in? Brian Kialu. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Which folder are we currently in the terminal?
Hello Python.
Exactly. So if I say dot, it means open VS Code in the current folder that we are in. So if you say, if I do a command later on like git add space dot, what do I mean?
Sorry?
If I do a command here right now, say git add dot, what do I mean?
Oh, you're trying to add the local files or even folders, the local files in the given folder to the online.
Exactly. Wachia hapo. Wewe bwana huwezi kuwa very good right hand man wa pastor. Pastor akisema wachia hapo na wachia hapo. Sasa saa hii mimi ndo pastor. Hallelujah. Mseme amen. This person is David, leo uko na seda bwana. So remember, the first command is git, followed by add. So after add, I have dot. And dot, I said, means the current folder. So probably it means add everything in the current folder. Sawa, acha tufungue VS Code before tuingie hapo. So I'm going to say open VS Code in this current folder. So I'm going to say code dot. That should open VS Code in this current folder if you installed VS Code correctly. In my case, it's going to open cursor code editor because that is what, read some magic that I don't want to show you. So it has opened cursor instead. But I want VS Code. So let me just allow me to delete that. Allow me to delete that. And I think it's open here. So all right. So I want to go into the folder that we were working on yesterday, Python Accelerator Bootcamp, and then we had this Hello Python. I hope you're following, and everyone has created an online repository called Hello Python, and they've cloned it locally. So in my folder, Mimi, I have in the Python Accelerator Bootcamp, I have a folder called Hello Python. So I want to open VS Code here. So I'm just going to right click on that folder and then open with code. But I want to do something in this folder. The only thing that makes this folder magical or special is the .git folder. You see the .git folder, which is tracking everything that you're doing, all the changes, blah, blah, blah. That is what makes it a digital backpack that is embedded locally in your computer that can sync with the online repository. So I want to delete this. If I delete that, all the configurations, it's just a normal folder. It's not detected as a GitHub repository. The .git is what makes it special. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize Git again in this folder. So if you want to make this folder be seen as a GitHub repository, then you're going to use the command git init for initializing that folder as a GitHub repository. So you can see initialize empty repository, blah, blah, blah. So if I go back, you can see now I have a .git folder. So this is what makes your folder special. If you don't see this in your folder, then it is not seen as a GitHub repository. You can clone it. But in this scenario now, I want us to create a folder, initialize Git the way I've done, and then push it online. So that is the other way around. All right, so we want to push it right here in the CodeVertex GitHub ecosystem. So I'm going to use GitHub desktop. Sasa tumewachana na mambo ya command. Unajua sasa mtu alikuwa ameanza kukasirika hapa vibaya, and I don't want that. So I'm here for everyone. So if you like using Windows, uende unapenda vitu za kufinya na unaona results, that's what we are doing next. Ndio usikasirike, wacha kukunja sura hivyo. Sijali, I'm showing the right way to do this thing in an easier way. So in your GitHub desktop, I want to make sure we are together on this. Go to your GitHub desktop. Kama hii yangu. If you manage to sign in, well and good. So you go to File and then click on Add Local Repository. So here we're not using commands. We're just using the interface. So click on choose, and then you can navigate to where you have your young what? Okay, in projects and Python Accelerator. Now this is the folder that we've initialized Git in. So you select that folder, and then you add it as a local repository, and you can see that all these files are being added for the first time, and we have a section where we can describe our whatever you're pushing online, or you can give a short commit message. So for now, because I'm creating this for the first time, I'm going to use initial commit, so that whoever is going to see this online will know that this is the starting point for my code. So that was the initial commit. So the good thing about commit messages is that they track changes in what you've done in your code. So I'm going to use commit. Click on that button, commit. But remember, this is a local folder that does not appear anywhere online. So it's going to ask me to publish that repository. So I'm giving you the power of a publisher if you're using your GitHub desktop. So you can give the description, like say Python hello world code. And then I want to deploy this. Now, if you don't have an organization, usianze kushanga, usitoe meno hapa nje yote, hapana. If you don't have an organization, don't worry about it. Leave it as none. It will link to your online repository. Remember, when you're logging into Git desktop, you are signing in with your online GitHub repository, or the details that you use when you're creating your account, maybe your email and blah, blah, blah. It redirected you to maybe the browser and where you logged in, right? Something like that. So it is already linked to your online GitHub account. So if it is none, then that means you don't have any GitHub organization account. But for me, I have different accounts, as you can see here. I have an account for Bingo Hub. I have an account for LTIT. I have an account for Smart Software Academy. I have an account for UN Afia. So I'm going to go with Bingo Hub, and then publish my repository into Bingo Hub. Yuko swali?
Yes, on my side, I don't on my top left, I see my code is being seen under history, not changes. So I don't know, maybe if there is something.
No, see, I can go to history, and I can also go back to changes. So currently I have no changes, 0 changes, because I've pushed everything that I had online. But if I go to history, you can see that these are the things that I pushed online. So that is the history of what you've done so far. Hello.py, you know, hiyo takataka yote yenye nimesukuma huko juu. We're on the same page now?
Yes.
Good. So, like I said yesterday, your main branch can either be main or master. And the main branch means the mother branch, where your initial commit was done or pushed. But from this, you can say I can create a new branch. And when I'm creating a new branch, you can give it a name like, maybe when you're giving your branch's name, you can say feature hello code. So that is a branch. So that this a branch contains a feature, but the feature that it contains is the hello code. So when I create that branch, you can see I've created another branch, and it's created from the main branch. It has picked my information from the main branch and then created another branch. From there, I can add this feature called hello code. So you can create other branches. So right now I have 2 branches, but this one is local until I push it online. So it is easier with Git desktop. See, bora kazi ifanywe na our target is realizing one goal of making sure that we can deploy, we are comfortable with GitHub. So whether you like command line or whether you like interfaces, we are achieving the same thing. So usikuje kuringa hapa ati mimi nafanyanga git add, git commit, git push, git merge, git rebase. We can do all that with this interface, and everyone is smiling at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter how you do it when you ask me, or if you ask me, it doesn't matter how you do it or which operating system you use to do it. You can become a good software engineer regardless of whichever tools you're using, so long as they make your work easier and they're tools that are acceptable and are allowing you to write standard code. So it doesn't matter, use what works for you. Mtu asikupe peer pressure ati, oh, mimi natumia Git bash, it's fancy, it has different colors. Yet at the end of the day, you can't deliver with that Git bash, but you can use Git desktop better. Now let's prove that we have our repositories. I'm going to just refresh my repositories here. And we can see that we have hello Python. Now let's confirm if you have the folders that or the files that we had in this particular. So you can see we have them, contributing.md, we have readme, we have license, blah, blah, blah. Now, I remember I said that standard GitHub repository should have also best practices or things like that. But if you have a contributing.md, it's going to appear here as one of the tabs. It knows automatically that this is a standard GitHub repository file, just like the way readme normally appears. And then you can go and just switch. And when you have the license.md, it's also going to include the license here as a tab. So if you had security, you will also have another tab here. So that's the good thing about it. We'll look into that when you guys decide to do advanced courses. For now, let's keep it short. But you can see the magic has worked. Whether you do it, you create your folder locally and initialize it as a Git repository and push it online, that is your problem. Or if you're going to create it online, and then you're going to use the code section here to just copy and clone, and then work on it, then push your changes, whichever way works for you, so long as we kill the rat. Do we have a question on the same? Tuko sawa? All right. Now, let's write our first Python code. I'm just going to do a quick, a quick walkthrough, and then maybe introduce what we should be doing today. I don't know if the time is going to allow. You don't want to spend much of your time here. You know, you guys are maybe kuna watu hapa wanalala saa 2 na saa hii ni saa 3:30. So I don't want you to sleep on your laptop. All right, so yesterday we explained why we are saving files with the extensions that you are seeing here. For example, you can see we have .md, we have .py, we have .md here also. But who can explain why we have this? Or I could create one here, and let's see. I could create hello. And now you can even see that the logo that is given to that file is different. And I can do hello.py. Sorry, PPT. Hiyo ni kichwa ngumu, nataka kitu yenye itaeleweka. .txt, yeah. And now you can see even the way that icon appears is different. Now, I want somebody to give me the difference between hello.docs, hello.py, and hello.txt, and the readme.md. Your concentration or your point of reference should be the extension. And when I'm talking about the extension here is that section from dot to the end. You can see .docs, that is what we are calling extension. .py, that is what we are calling file extension. So somebody can give me the difference between those files and explain the difference of having or saving files with the right extensions. If you're in yesterday's class. Mbio bwana. Hii ni rahisi. Tupe nani? Joshua, were you there yesterday? Okay, hii waja nipatie hii kijana anaitwa Shadow. Shadow assassin. I want you to assassinate this one. Aya. Jamaa wa kujenga alikuwa wapi? Peter jenga. Hebu jenga hii haraka haraka tusonge. Sorry?
Okay. I think that .docs is just a Word doc.
How did you know it's a Word doc?
The extension.
Why is it important?
To tell the computer that it's dealing with which document type. Like the readme as the MD, which source is Markdown. So the computer will know that this is a Markdown file. The .py is extension .py is for Python. So the same thing, the computer will know that it's dealing in the Python file.
Exactly. Do you know why we have labels on food? What happens if hydrochloric acid, which also happens to be transparent, is not labeled correctly? And you somebody, maybe I work in, let's put it this way, in a domestic environment. See, I have a wife back at home and with kids, right? So I come from work, I'm a professor, so I work in, I do a lot of research and all that. So you say mimi lab technician, hiyo ndo mlikuwa mnangoja wapi? So I come home, I have a lab at home, a private lab at home. So I come home, I've bought some materials that I'll be using in my next experiment. So I have HCl. I didn't label it. I just carried it in different bottles. I have hydrochloric acid, and I have maybe phosphoric acid. I have water. All these things are transparent, like water. And I have water in the mix. They are not labeled. And then I have maybe petrol in another bottle. And somehow it looks like cooking oil. It is not labeled. Now, so my wife comes home and wants to prepare some dinner, and then probably uses the petrol as thinking it is cooking oil. And you see, you probably know what happens when you put petrol in a hot pan, right? It goes kaboom, and everybody is now dancing in the fire. So the same way, it is very critical for you to save files with the right extensions in your operating system, so that your operating system is going to use the right tools to interpret those files and probably process the content. So if I was to open the content of this Markdown file, the reason why I'm able to see this content is because my Windows operating system has known that it is a Markdown file, so it loads the right environment for a Markdown file to be displayed. Otherwise, things will go kaboom here and nothing will work. Same to .docs. So with Python, for Windows or for your operating system, whichever operating system you're using, to know that it should use the Python runtime that you installed to interpret the files, so that it can interpret the instructions or the code that you write in this file and give you the right output. You should save that file with the right extension, that is .py. Si kameeleweka ama yuko swali? All right, wacha tuendelee. So yesterday we were doing writing our first Python code, or hello world code. So in Python, if you want to write or to put something in the terminal, you should put it within quotes, but you have to give it to the right function that is able to do that. So we'll get into functions later on, but to just know that the function for displaying your content in the terminal in Python is called print. It's called print. It's just like printing something. The only thing is that it's not using a printer, it's printing in the terminal so that you're able to see. And when I talk about terminal, I'm talking about this down here. This is your terminal. Usifikiria sana. So if you want to output anything, in the most simple way to do that is I could try to print numbers. So just put 3 there and print. Anything you put within this print statement, it is going to output it in the terminal. If you wanted to output text-related content, you put it within double quotes or single quotes. For now, let's stick with single quotes, double quotes. So I'm going to say hello world. That is what I want to print. And if you see this button here, it is for running Python files. But because we are all nerds, we are graduating from using interfaces sana tusichekelewe sana. So we can also use a bit of commands. So if you want to run a Python file, you have to start with the keyword Python. This calls the Python runtime to interpret this code for the computer. And then the name of the Python file that you want to interpret or run is hello.py, and then we can press enter. And you can see it is printing hello world. Yeah, so up to this point, you've graduated from being a total beginner to an level 2 beginner. Hujafika kwa intermediate, nitakwambia ukifika kwa intermediate, but for now you are like level 2, ama tuseme ni 2.0 beginners with GitHub accounts and all tools installed. If somebody just looked at if they were looking for a hacker in your area and they just look at the tools that you installed in your laptop, they'll probably you'll be the first people to be suspected. Because now, with the tools you have, you look like somebody who is almost a software engineer. All right. So any question before we move? Because that is what we covered yesterday, if I'm not wrong. Is there anything I've left out? Good. So I am going to have one person just do all these things we've done here. I just want you to, and please volunteer, or I'm going to choose. So what you're going to do is very simple. Print Python, what do you call it? Hello world. And then you can commit that. You can make maybe a change in that file and add, commit, push. Remember, it's not an exam. It is not a test. We are here to help. So as you write it, if you volunteer, you're even putting it into your system through your hands and your keyboard. And you learn code much faster when you're doing it. And so many people are watching and banking on you to, guide them. So don't fear, just volunteer and you learn. And we are here to correct, not to judge. So before we do that, I want to bring you up to speed to what we will be doing tomorrow that we're not able to do today. And people are yawning here. So probably I should end the session. But tomorrow we might do a double session now that you'll have the tools set up. Okay. I want to give you the full program. So the full program of this 14-day Python Accelerator Bootcamp, please make sure that you stick around for the 14 days. So first of all is what we did yesterday, installing Python 3.12 and the environment setup. We've not done authentication e-token, mambo ya e-token, but we've created a GitHub account. So this is something that we can really do. We can do really quick. I think today, after we have that demo, it's going to take us like 1 to 2 minutes to do it. Git desktop we've installed. So just generating this won't be an issue. So you're going to do that. And then we've done all this clone, push. We've done that using Git desktop. But we'll do it more and more during our classes. We'll use commands, we'll use Git desktop. So it will be a walk in the park for you by the end of the 14 days. I will do Python syntax basics. That is what we are supposed to do today, but because so many of you are yawning a lot, I'm going to push it to tomorrow, and we can probably combine it with variables and data types. And then variables and data types, we'll talk more about variables and data types and also combine it with operators. And then after that, we'll do control flow. Now this is now like controlling the flow of data in your instructions or applications. And then we have loops and iterations. So we look at the different types of looping or for those tasks that are expected to repeat. And then we have functions and modular code. Now, these combine functions and OOP, where we learn object-oriented programming kidogo. And then on day 7, we'll do a solo project. And yeah, it's a simple one. And then week 2, when we start week 2, hapa sasa unafaa kuwa intermediate in week 2. So here we'll start working with files and data, like CSV, blah, 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 and all that. Packages, virtual environments, and external libraries. And how do you install them? Using the PIP pip tool. A bit of web scraping. I won't go into details, but I'll show you basics of web scraping using Beautiful Soup, blah, 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 and all like extracting things like that. Working with APIs, I'll use existing APIs. It's not like we'll be building APIs here, but just give you the overview of the general package that you'll get when you do an advanced course. And then now more details about, now this is now getting into details of object-oriented programming. And lastly, we'll do a group project after we do object-oriented programming. And you'll choose from the projects that are given there. So yeah, by week 2, you should be intermediate and you should be able to handle those advanced topics. Now, so some of those topics are a bit advanced and I want to go into details. I'll just keep it light. Advanced topics will be discussed in more advanced courses in the Convertex ecosystem. All right, let's have that volunteer. We give you 5 minutes. Let me stop presenting. And I want to stop recording here. Bill, is that okay? Oliza David. So I've stopped